Hey, so greetings and welcome back to the channel. So last time, what we kind of figured out was that when concerning the images, the user had the wrong path. So what I needed to do was I needed to go to Mongo. I needed to go to my Mongo connection here, connect, update the values to show from fake path to an actual image. Then my image 8 came up. So, and then my images came up, right? So now in the last part, the user basically wants what to happen is they want a comment to write a comment, and then when they hit update, when they hit update, then this should this should start to appear in the comment section. So hopefully too much of the UI is there. Hopefully functionality for the API is there, and hopefully this is the only thing we need to fix. So let's try to go fix that right now. All right, so now I'm gonna go to apps, to my blogs component. Try to see what's going on here. Right, so obviously, best practices, we're trying to see tiny things, right? So we're at the issues at 176, so let's try to see what's going on with that. Let's close all the editors here. Oh, not all of them. Let's go to 176, so we kind of see this dot submitted is true, and then this dot user service get user by token, this dot token. It's kind of interesting. If I'm not mistaken, right, I think I'm not logged in, so I shouldn't be able to see, right? I have to be logged in order to be able to access these posts, right? And I kind of done this, right? But even so, this API call is not even happening, so let's try to see. So it's basically 176 cannot read properties of undefined, right? So there's an error here. So it might be there's an API call happening, but let's see what the error is all about. All right, so basically we get an error here. We hit message, and it says can't read properties of null reading length. Right, so basically he said occurred. Please try again later. Right, so somewhere in this application, um, so somewhere in this application, right, there's a um, there's something being passed, so we gotta try to figure out what it is, right? So I kind of look here and then try to write a comment, right? Yeah, this is kind of scary because it's not immediately obvious where this is coming from. So, but HTTP headers are lying around. But what I'm thinking is that there's an interceptor in this application. So, yeah, I know. Headers, authorization token. So I think it's upset because I think it's trying to turn into HTTP headers, but it can't. Yeah, so headers kind of needs to be an instance of, all right, but it can't because token is kind of enough. So I think what I need to do is I need to create an account before I could really just do anything with this. All right, so if I said token ABC, let's try to see if it's still going to make the API call. So I got an error, right? So it's not unlocked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create an account here. All right. So I'm definitely at the point, so here's my access token, if you will. Right, so this is kind of my token here. So I kind of send that in, so that kind of takes care of that. So, but this is actually coming to a network call. So get user by token. So let's try to go over to our users. Let's try to see if there's any information in there that can help us out. So the back end, go over to our controllers. Then we go over to users controller. Register, verify, login, reset password, get all members, update user, delete user, and then I think for all intents and purposes, I want to say get user by token. All right. Better yet, want to go to create. So we want to say comments create. So probably something called the comments controller. We want to try to take a look at. And here we are. All right, so create. Create. So we kind of get an error. So now I'm looking at my payload here. So this is the blog ID. So it looks like I'm not sending the blog ID along, right? So where everyone's supposed to send it, right? There's expecting the blog ID. It looks like it's not getting it. So let's go back to the user service. I'll try to see where that API call is coming from. All right, so not going to be immediately obvious, but let's try to see if there's a comment service line around here, right? There it is, and there is, and it says create comment, right? So blog ID any. So at some point this is getting called, right? So let's go to our blogs component. So this.id. So I'm assuming that this.id and it's coming from data.data.id. That wouldn't make sense. I would expect that the blog, right, is going to come from the ID that was clicked is going to come from the blog. So if you try to look at the HTML, there's probably a click that's going to call create comment. All right, so create comments. So we say so we say create comment, right? So there's really not for me. So anytime that's selected, that says create comment, but this data here, I can't meaningfully work with the data here. So I'm kind of looking at this component, and this is one really big. Shouldn't need this amount of HTML to make a card like this. I'm interested in how it's all working, but I'm just looking for ng4. So let's say B, right? So basically, what I want to do is in this submit or create comment. What I initially want to do, I just want to pass in B, and then hopefully that kind of ng submit allows that for that. Yeah, I know. And then I want to update the blog. So let's try to see how that looks. Just hopefully I get some meaningful data. right? So that's the blog ID that I'm kind of looking for right here. So that's a user, that's ID. So hopefully this is a blog ID, and then if you kind of just do this again, right, then yeah, the IDs are different, right? And then just to be on the safe side, we kind of do it again. We kind of see that all the IDs are different. So blog.id. I'm not too sure of the type or the class for this, but I think I'm gonna leave it for now. Maybe it's somewhere in my models if there's models on this, but I don't see that here, so it's fine. But I always like to kind of put it in because you never know when you need it. So JSON to TS, convert from selection. So here's the blog. So I'm gonna try to turn this into its own. I'm gonna try to turn this into its own model here. So then I want to give the class blog a type blog, so I kind of know what I'm working with. I go ahead, import it, add that import in. All right, let the application reload, and then that's fine. So while I do it, says this .id equals data dot. Now, I'm not sure what this is all is. We don't want to try to keep the source of truth like this. We want something pure, right? So basically, we're going to go ahead and say blog, and it does have any ID as lowercase ID. So there's that. So create blog. Okay, so this I'm actually mistaken myself. So yeah, it's going to come up as null. So I have to say blog.id and then this .comment form.value. All right, so that should start to work with us. So A, B, C, D, F. All right, so comment created successfully, but it looks like I don't have a listener. So I need to refresh the page just to try to see the comment, if there's any comment. I'll try to see where it is, if there's any. Comment. And it looks like I haven't seen it. It looks like it's not running around, so let's just focus on blog web. A, B, C, D, F, and then comment created successfully. Right, so looks like that comment creates, but I'm not getting to see the comment, so this problem's a bit deeper, I suppose. So now what I need to do is I need to try to take a look at Mongo, try to see where these comments kind of live. And I got two documents right here. Right, so this and this. So I believe that. So I believe that, this application is probably returning the comments back. So let's try to see if we can try to get a list. Right, so response, then maybe you have to try to join the comments to get out and over it. Let's say data, blogs, and then so this is the blog information, right? And then I think I need to go grab the comment information. Right, so looks like the comments are being retrieved, so I won't be able to tell. So let's try to see if there's anything in here that allows us to get our comment, or else this video is going to be longer. Yeah, all comments. So yeah, it's not getting called. Yeah. So let's try to find ng on the net. Just like get all blogs. And then I always like to say type. I always like to say type. Never really like using subscribe. So I don't think ng's unsub is lying around. Yeah, let's go to the data edit just for now. error. I believe since we're using an older version of Angular, kind of need to say that for all intents and purposes, I'll just leave it as subscribed. It's like it's giving me too much of a problem. So there's that, and then what I want to try to do, I'm going to say this get log comments. All right, there we see how that looks. Looks like some sort of error will happen. Again later. So I say console.log error. Let's try to see what's going on. Yeah, so we got 404. It said it cannot get, and it looks like there's a missing slash, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so they look like they forgot to add a slash. Let's try to see if it's able to figure it out. And then undefined. Well, there's undefined. So something came along as undefined. So get all comments live blog ID. Right, so yeah, that kind of makes sense. Right, so basically, yeah, so basically this logic here is what kind of needs to happen is like a little fork join. Right, so for each and every so for fork join meaning for each and every blog there needs to be additional API call. So it's gonna be really tough. So this logic here is a bit kind of doesn't make sense. Let's try to see what the blog component's expecting. So for C of comments, right? And it really doesn't make sense to try to do that. I think the comments need to live on this blog object itself, right? So if you kind of see that, that's how it's living. Let B of blogs. So let's see if comments. So we're gonna have to say let's see. So first things first, we're gonna have to say let's see of B dot comments, right? That's gonna have to be the first thing. Yeah, we're sure we're gonna get an error. And then what we kind of want to do we're going to try to transform the data. I want to just say for each and no it doesn't, then it has to, and then say it would be equal to empty array. Very good. And then what I basically have to say is this dot get all comments, and then I say blog dot ID. So we're gonna have to see how that looks. And then I think better, yeah, I need the whole blog so I could add the ID appropriately. So let's try to figure that out. Blog is going to be blog again. And then I say blog dot comments equals data dot data, and then I put here blog dash ID. So we're going to see how that looks. So that's really kind of interesting. I don't see the comments. Hold on. So response. I think there's one where I had two, unless these comments just changed. So let's try to see here. This document. We'll look at some documents here. blog. So if I kind of look at my payload, so it's 630. So basically, I'm looking for 630 preview and then response. Yeah, so it looks like I should have gotten my blog, my comments back, but it definitely looks like Mongo's not sending that data. So we're gonna have to take a look at that endpoint here to see what's going on there. So let's go back to the comment service controller, and let's try to dig. Let's try to dig deep. So looks like we have to go to our Node.js backend. Alright, so it looks like it's kind of complaining about something here. It looks like so it's gonna have to try to debug this a bit. Now what we can do is we can restart the Node.js server. Try to see what's going on. Later. Alright, so now I'm connected to that database, so let's try to see. So I'll kind of get no errors here. 0. And basically, I think what I want to do is that I want to try to get the blog ID that I need to work with, just try to see what's going on. So if blog.id equals this, then just want to get all my blog comments. And there's no change detection running, right? Yeah, no change detection. And yeah, this is not going to be useful. So, alright, so now I'm kind of working with the blog ID that I kind of want to work with here. We can see what's going on. So it's saying, so basically, in my comms controller is trying to indicate that blog is by blog ID, but maybe it's kind of looking at the wrong property here. So let's try to see. So it's for sure blog, but the value isn't like that. So trying to print out and then let's try to see if I could just leave this out. If not, I'm gonna have to open up some documentation. So let's just try to say, go ahead and say comments. Let's try to see what that looks like. I don't know if this is kind of running. but we're gonna have to try to debug it, try to see what's in there, because the value's in comments, but you know, let me debug it while we wait. And so it looks like according to ChatGPT, there's this object ID that they're forgetting to filter on. So let's try to do that. An object ID is going to be undefined. Let's say mongoose like so. So I'm not too certain, right? But we're kind of getting all our blog information. What we would, it kind of looks like, even though it's stored, this is the blog ID. So let's try to do that instead. So there's that. But now let's try to really try to solve that. So now I got my information. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to solve that. So I'm gonna go back to our comment service, and then let's try to use this actual blog they have here. So it looks like the way it was stored in a database, and what it is, and what I kind of see what the AI is pulling, the API is pulling at least. It's kind of interesting, but it looks like we couldn't figure it out. So I definitely tried to so I definitely tried, but it's definitely looking here that I can't get it to kind of do what I want here. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna run a quick filter. I'm just gonna run a quick filter just to check the blog ID against the comments. So let filtered, then I'll probably just say filter. Like data comments equals comments. So I'll say date that filter. And then I would say return. So comment.blog equals the blog ID. So I'll say filter dot filter, and that shouldn't need too many issues. Alright, so we're gonna delete that. We're gonna delete that code right there. And we're gonna take a look at that. Try to see what we get. Then I want to try to get rid of my filter here. Oh, and then it's a promise. So I gotta await it, and then I would say comments equals comments.filter. I should start to get all my information back. And then from here, what we could do is you can remove this if statement because we really can't figure out, what Mongo needs to do. So right, so that's all the comments, right? And then this is and I believe if I'm not mistaken, so there was kind of my main issue. The blog ID is undefined, so I may not be sending it in properly. Right, I have to say the blog ID. So using query params. So my comment service, I kind of need to say that here. Right, so I say blog ID equals plus ID. So now back in my controller, I should be able to filter again. Say blog ID